Hey, hey, hey. Welcome back, Kipsters and Chipsters, the loving term we have for all our fans. Um, Happy to be back here live from my basement as part of the Kip and Chip Sports Podcast, episode number 7. Um, Once again, as always, grateful to be joined by my co-host and brother, Sam. How are you doing this evening?
I'm doing great. It's going to be a fun episode here tonight. We're ready to get podding.
Get potted. I love it. Yeah, we got a fun episode tonight. I think this would be really good material to listen to while you're hitting iron shots in your golf simulator in the garage. So if that applies to anybody out there, I hope this is good material for that. Um, so we have made a habit of reacting to a little bit of breaking. I don't want to say breaking news because um, news that is broken since our last episode, and I think there's a couple pieces of news I want to get to, Sam. First one is the Zach Tom contract. So Zach Tom, right tackle for the Packers, was recently extended for a deal that kicks in next season at 4 years, $88 million over the course of that contract with a $30 million signing bonus. Um, what was your initial reaction when you saw that tweet? I know you were the first one that sent it to me, so you were like Adam Schefter in the group chat, but what was your thought when you first saw that?
I was just excited because there's a lot of contracts coming up for the Packers in the next couple of seasons. And I think it was clear and obvious to the real Packers fans who the most important contract was, being Zach Tom. And, I mean, he's a guy that they needed to pay a lot of money to keep him happy because he deserves it. When I first saw that contract, I was like, I mean, you see 88 million or whatever it was on a tweet, and you're like, whoa. But then you check the average value per year that some of these other tackles are making that are probably worse than he is. It's a real
Hmm.
good deal. I'm excited about it. I think it's going to age really well, and I mean, he's the bookend of our future. Probably our third best player on the team, I'd say right now. So I'm pretty stoked about it.
Hmm. Yeah, I was so excited when I saw that number come in. Um, a couple things about it made me excited. The first was the signing bonus. It seems to me like the Packers have gotten back into their ways of wanting to be higher up in the NFL as far as cash spending goes. And that to me signals a team that realizes they got a lot of good players they got to re-sign soon, and they're willing to, dip into their savings account to make some of those signings and, give signing bonuses that they can prorate into future seasons and spread out the cap relief. So one that made me really excited because the Packers haven't done that since the end of the Rodgers era. So I think that was good to see because I want them to transition back to that. And then the second thing was, so Zach Tom is now the ninth highest paid tackle in the NFL. Um, and I think that's probably about where he is skill wise too. I think
Yeah.
if he's top 10, he's back into the top 10. He's somewhere around the 10th best tackle in the NFL, and he's still young and still improving. But I
Mm-hmm.
mean, how many times do you see teams pay the eighth best player at their position, a market setting contract and
Yeah.
just say in the future this number is going to get passed up and it won't look so bad anymore. But the
Like a
Packers
Jordan Love
got
deal.
him. Yeah, exactly like that. But the Packers, they got Zach Tom what he's worth right now. And 4 years from now, when he's still making that same amount of money, but other guys that passed him up, like there might be other players this offseason that are not as good as Zach Tom that get paid as much or more than Zach Tom. Um,
Yeah. Totally. And do you think, just real quick, because I know the Packers still have cap space, and some of the things they've done recently, fans are like, oh, they're going to get Trey Hendrickson. Obviously, that would be crazy exciting. That's what we all hope happens. But do you think the Packers are going to do anything with that space and flexibility financially, or do you think they're just gonna, you know, I guess give themselves flexibility for these upcoming contracts they're going to have to extend?
yeah, so I just saw the notification that Christian Wilkins got released by the Raiders. If that guy passes a physical, which the Packers are normally pretty conservative with injury stuff, so I bet he's not even on their radar because of the foot injuries. But
Yeah.
if he somehow was, deemed healthy enough to be a Packer, I would be pissing my pants over that signing. I think that's the
Yeah.
exact type of guy they'd really need. Um, but I bet they're just gonna either one save as much as they can and roll all of that cap space over to next year. Because I don't know if everybody knows this, but any dollar that a team doesn't spend in 2025, they can roll 100% of that over to 2026. So
It's
I
a
mean,
cheat code.
if you save $50 million, you can spend that $50 million next year. So the Packers have consistently done that when they can. So I think they'll either do that or they'll front load some of these extensions and take a higher percentage of the cap hits on this season when they have the cap space to do so.
Yeah.
But deep down, Christian Wilkins is the kind of thing I'd love to see him do.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That'd be big time.
it really would. It would be really exciting. But moving on to another exciting piece of news, the Packers had 13 wide receivers on their 90-man roster just a couple days ago, after signing another one, I think, on Monday. And then in Goody's press conference, he announced that Bo Melton is basically playing full-time cornerback. Um, yeah, so I want to know your thoughts on that.
Honestly, seeing all these training camp updates come out, like another big one I guess I'll mention real quick is that um, Gutekunst and LaFleur talked about how Elton Jenkins, when he comes back from his back injury, he's planning on starting to practice. And so maybe that holdout will kind of come to a close. We'll see what happens with that. But good news there. And I saw that and I was like, oh, sweet. And then I saw Bo Melton, full time cornerback, and I was like, oh, yes! And so I don't know why, but just seeing him, because I've always loved Bo Melton, but you can tell the writing's on the wall for him as a receiver on this team with the amount of guys they have and then new draft picks and everything. And even McCole Hardman, who I think is going to crack this roster, if I'm being honest. So, yeah, Bo Melton, his days were numbered at receiver, but they love him so much and know that his brother played corner, or is currently playing corner for the Cardinals, and so
Yeah,
they're willing to give him a shot. I don't know if you
yeah.
saw the highlight today. There's a sweet Matthew Golden play. One of the Packers guys posted it on Twitter, but Golden had this really nice double move where he caught it over the middle of the field and juked two guys. And on that same play, Bo Melton was guarding him, but they had one of the running backs come out on a wheel route, and Bo Melton had to decide who to guard, and he played it perfectly.
Really?
But Love or I didn't know who quarterback was. It was either Love or Willis. Just threw a dart to Golden, and he had such a good route. But Bo Melton was draped all over him. Made this sweet defensive play where he switched to the other guy running past him at the same moment. So I don't know. I think he's got the tools. I don't think he's going to be a contributor on defense. But even if he makes the roster as a cornerback, it'd be so fun.
It'd be so cool. Yeah. Um, that type of play you just explained where he drops off, because I think I saw the same highlight on Twitter. Isn't it like kind of a double move slant and that Golden runs and then he drops off? That's
Yeah.
that's the type of play when I'm playing linebacker or nickel corner on Madden that I can never make. I can
Yeah.
never cover my zone over a big enough space on the field to actually be effective like that. So it's pretty impressive that in Melton's second practice at corner, he's already better than I am at Madden.
It is pretty impressive. And I also like his number switch to 16.
Yeah. Um, I was hoping though that Matthew Golden would then switch to 80. Now that 80 is going to be open, but it doesn't sound like that's going
Yeah.
to happen, which is
I don't
sad.
know.
But I'm with you. I think the Melton thing is exciting. It's something the Packers have done in the past, maybe more so than any other NFL franchise, and with pretty good success. Like if you'll remember, Sam Shields was a wide receiver in college at Miami, and then after they picked him up as a UDFA, they switched him a corner, and he was like one of the most valuable pieces of some of those mid 2010 defenses,
Hmm.
and one of your all time favorite Packers, huh?
Still have his jersey.
Yeah, yeah, hanging in the childhood bedroom.
Yep.
Uh, all right. Well, so those are two things I wanted to talk about. I feel like the biggest by far by far the biggest piece of breaking news was the Elton Jenkins, piece that it's not a contract holdout, it's just an injury issue that's keeping him off the practice field right now.
Yeah.
That's the biggest deal because the fact that the Packers basically won that negotiation and got him back on the practice field is huge. It's huge for the team this year, and it's huge for their flexibility financially going forward next year. Um, I really want to talk about that, but I have something planned to talk about that later, so I wanted to save that for a later segment.
Okay.
But know that that is coming because I do have some thoughts on that. Um,
Okay.
so, getting into the meat and potatoes of our show today, we want to do a Packers centric show. Um, Training camp is back. The little kids are riding their bikes. The Hall of Fame game is 1 week from right now. 1 week
Yeah.
from right now, it's 8:30 p.m. Central Time. We're recording on the 24th of July. 1 week from right now, I'll be sitting on the couch, falling asleep after the first half of the Hall of Fame game because I'll be bored at halftime. But it doesn't matter.
Woo!
There will be football on the TV, and I'm so excited. We're only 7 days
Hell
away.
yeah. Woo!
Yeah. So, on that note, we want to get into some Packers talk. Um, Packers are a little bit of a polarizing team. A lot of people are optimistic, a lot of people are pessimistic. So we're going to do a little bit of a good cop, bad cop routine here where Sam's going to be the good cop. He's got 4 reasons for optimism for this 2025 team. And then I'll be the bad cop. I've got 4 reasons for pessimism. So, do you want to start happy or do you want to start sad?
I was thinking we start happy because I have three real good ones and then two kind of silly ones.
Okay.
So I think it would be best if we start out alternating good, bad, and then we end with my last silly good one to end on a high
So,
note.
are you going to start serious and end silly then?
Yeah. But they're still
Okay.
serious, but they're just kind of sillier ones.
Okay. Well,
Okay.
I look forward to the silliness.
Okay. Um, Let me pull up my list here, see what I want to talk about first. Okay. I think the big one that I'm really excited about is it's year two in Jeff Hafley's scheme.
Hmm.
And year two of him as a defensive coordinator. I don't think this is a hot take. Like, I would really get into a serious discussion with any Packers fan that tells me that I'm wrong here in this statement. But I think after one season, Jeff Hafley is the best defensive coordinator we've had in the last decade.
Oh, okay. So you're just counting like end of Dom Capers' tenure, Dom Capers.
Yeah, so the end of Dom Capers, who by that point was probably there a little bit too long.
Yeah.
But again, he didn't have great talent. I mean, they wouldn't get anyone for that defense, and so you can't blame it all on Dom Capers. But he just seemed kind of more of that old school type of defensive coach. And then you bring in Mike Pettin, who honestly was he after Capers? Am I correct in saying that?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, Mike Pettin, who I think we all just kind of forgot about that era. Not a lot of exciting times there with Mike Pettin. And then
Yeah.
next was Joe Barry, right?
Yep.
Who was just awful. I mean, there's nothing good he did. Being just a random outside linebacker coach from the Rams. I didn't like that signing at the time. None of us did, and he never lived up to anything. And then we bring in Jeff Hafley, who's a former head coach from Boston College. And he's
Yeah.
kind of like the Doc Rivers of the NFL to me, where anytime he says anything, I'm just like, oh yeah, I can get behind that. Like he's just such a good orator,
Yeah.
to where I just want to listen to him and believe in anything he says. And so I think LaFleur's kind of that same way too. These guys are really smart dudes who kind of come. They seem like they're cut from the same cloth. Seem like they get along and bounce off each other well. And I think the players love him. I can't give me a specific example, but in some interviews I've heard some players talk about how they love Hafley's scheme and they're excited for year two in it. And I think
Hmm.
McKinney is a guy that's talked a lot about that. And so I'm just really hopeful. I mean, there's definitely some holes on the defense. We talk about how we need a Hendrickson or a Christian Wilkins, someone like that, to come in and beef up the pass rush. both in the interior and on the edge. But I mean, they have first round picks on that all over the D line, and so these are guys that should develop. And I'm gonna get back to Halfley in a second, but while I'm on this topic of the D line, the Packers also are bringing in a new defensive line coach. Um, I had his name pulled up, but help me remember his name if you can.
DeMarcus Covington, right?
Yes, yeah, thank you. So he was a. Oh, I do have it pulled up. So I'm gonna read these stats. So obviously, defensive line coach sounds kind of boring, but I think compared to the NBA, position coaches, assistant coaches actually matter in football. And
So
these are
much.
guys that are, yeah, these are guys that are working every single day with specific groups, helping them work on technique, the mental aspect of it. It's a big deal having a fresh change in that defensive line group. So Covington comes in, a guy who's recently been the defensive coordinator of the Patriots. And just a stat real quick I saw on Packers.com. It says, while Covington was a position coach and defensive coordinator from 2019 to 2024, New England ranked in the top 5 in NFL total defense, passing defense, yards allowed per play, first downs allowed per game, interceptions, interception percentage, third down percentage. It said top 5 in those, but actually all of those were second or third while he was there.
Mm.
So, I mean, he's not going to be able to influence the entire defense. But I mean, if your pass rush is improved, that changes everything. So I'm excited for him to come in, have a fresh perspective, see if we can get a little more out of Van Ness and Rashawn Gary and those guys. Because I was looking at their PFF scores a second ago. Oh, it's ugly.
Yeah.
It's really ugly. Like, I don't even think. I think Rashawn Gary was like the 39th ranked edge, and then everyone else was outside the top 100.
Yeah.
And I was thinking, I've always been thinking, okay, Van Ness, he's an okay pass rusher, but he's more of a run defender. He was like 5th to last in all of defensive ends in run defense.
Yeah. And it was better as a rookie for him. Not by a lot, but yeah, it's not even just looking at the data, like just watching tape, if you really focus on him on every play, the dude never makes impact plays, at least for last season. And he just looks so stiff and he has no moves. He
Yeah.
he fires out of his stance and he just runs straight into the offensive tackle on every single play. I feel like he has no clue what he's doing ever. And I totally agree with you on Halfley. I am incredibly excited for DeMarcus Covington as well. I think it's been really interesting hearing how the messaging has been from LaFleur and Gutekunst, how they really seem to think that this new D-line coach is going to make enough of a difference that their pass rush won't be a problem next year.
Mm-hmm.
And I wonder if it's just the D-line coach they had the last couple of years was just truly that bad. Maybe he just was incredibly incompetent and was just not good. Because I mean, he showed up, and the time that he's been here coincides with. I mean, Rashawn Gary was going up, right? I mean, he was on an uphill trajectory. Like the arrow was pointed up for him, and then Jason Rebrovich, the old coach, shows up, and man, Gary is not highly regarded in the league anymore. Most people would say he's not worth his contract. I mean, Van Ness was one of those super high potential draft picks that people were excited about. Dude has done nothing. Rebrovich has been his coach the whole time. Preston Smith's decline as a player coincided with those years with Rebrovich.
Yeah.
I just feel like no one's gotten better. And a lot of players have had their worst seasons. But I mean, if the new coach can unlock some of these guys, if Devontae Wyatt can take a step, if Carl Brooks can improve, if Van Ness can finally figure out how to do something other than just run right at people, and Rashawn Gary can get back to where he was 2 years ago. I mean, maybe LaFleur and Goody will get proven right, and all they had to do to fix the pass rush was to get a crappy coach out and a good one in.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess we'll see. But to get back to my optimistic side, I do think the defensive line coach is going to make a difference. I predict a bounce back year from Gary where he has 12 sacks,
Okay.
And he's a guy too that even when he's not getting to the quarterback, he's wreaking havoc back there, and it's leading to sacks for other players. And so his sacks don't mean everything. I think he's a great run defender, but I predict 12 sacks this year, and I predict a big breakout from Devontae Wyatt. I'm not predicting a breakout for Van Ness. I think he's a bust. Um, I really hope he does, but I'm expecting a little improvement, just a year three growth, but not a year three jump.
Yeah.
And I mean, I hope Brooks can do the same, but I'm really feeling Devontae Wyatt this year, and so that's my prediction. And I'll get into some other position groups in a bit with my next optimistic take, but I think that I'm really excited just to see these players grow in year two of the scheme, and I think it's going to make a difference. You know, having some familiarity and some continuity going into next year or this year.
Yeah. I love it. I could totally see a Gary and a Wyatt improvement coming, and I'm also sadly kind of on the same page as you as with LVN. I couldn't
Yeah,
see much more than like a 6 sack season or something. Um,
yeah.
he's just so stiff, but maybe he'll prove us wrong.
Mm.
Um, so I'm going to move on. You guys are probably feeling pretty good now. So time for me to absolutely murder your spirits. Um, so my first reason for pessimism has been a reason for pessimism for me probably 9 of the last 10 seasons. And that is that the Green Bay Packers are relying far too heavily on Kenny Clark heading into the 2025 season. Um, so, kind of a rhetorical question, but going back to when they fired Barry and brought in Halfley, so many of us were just saying as long as Halfley can improve the run defense, I don't really
Yeah,
care because it was so bad under Barry. Um, in Barry's 3 seasons, the Packers never surrendered a yards per carry lower than 4.6 yards per carry. And that was always like bottom 5 to 10 in the league, sometimes even very last in the league.
that's
But
really bad.
yeah, with Jeff Halfley, they averaged almost exactly 4.0 yards per carry surrendered, which was third in the NFL. So huge improvement. Um, and my kind of rhetorical question is, I mean, if you think to yourself about which position group is most important in defending the run, you'd probably say defensive tackle, right?
Yeah,
Okay. So last year, TJ Slayton logged 427 snaps, which was second most on the team at defensive tackle. He played almost all of those snaps at the one tech or the nose tackle position, which for those of you that don't know, just means he's either head up on the center or he's in one of the A gaps. The dude didn't even try to rush the passer, which is part of the reason why he's not coming back. He was just a run first type of player, um, and he was pretty good at it too. The problem is everyone else around him on that defensive line group was not good last year defending the run. So Kenny Clark had a run defensive grade of 57 on Pro Football Focus, um, which is right about average. So Kenny Clark was an average run defender. Devontae Wyatt played the 3 tech spot, so he's incapable of filling in for those Slayton snaps that were missing because he's pretty strictly a 3 tech. But he had a run defense grade of 51, so below average. Not by a ton, but definitely below average. Colby Wooden last year was listed at 273 pounds. He's not going to play one technique. He's not going to take any of those Slayton snaps. He
even
graded,
though even though every year we talk about how he's gained weight during the off season.
yeah. Yeah, but when you're listed at 273, you're losing like 60, 70 pounds on where Slayton was, so he's got a long
Yeah.
ways to go. But yeah, so he was listed at 273. He's not going to play any one technique. He was graded at 47, so well below average. Carl Brooks, another smaller guy, not going to play one technique. His run defense grade was 37, one of the worst
Oh,
numbers in the league. So Warren Brinson was drafted. He showed a little bit of 1 tech, 3 tech versatility in college, but that was in college. and I thought he looked better at the three tech. I think you can expect him to play a little bit at the one tech, but he's a sixth round pick, and I'm not gonna like hype him up as some dude who's gonna instantly take over for TJ Slayton. So what does that leave? It leaves one guy who has the ability to play the one technique spot, which is Kenny Clark. So are we really at this point in his career, 10 years into his career, going to ask him to take over everything he was doing last year on top of everything we're losing from TJ Slayton? I just don't feel like that's a super healthy spot to be for this team right now.
All right, so Bo Melton switched positions. Can we get like a Travis Glover to go over there and play the one technique or something?
I
That
like
sounds
the way
pretty
you're
bad.
thinking. Yeah. Yeah. So, I mean, I just have worries about who can fill those snaps. Um, but I do want to shed some light on. I think the reason the Packers' run defense was so much better last year was not because of the defensive tackles. Because I just read through all of them, a lot of them graded out really poorly. And TJ Slayton, even though we think of him as like a really good run defender, in some of the advanced metrics, you wouldn't really. It didn't look like he was really as good as maybe we had thought he was. Um, so I don't think the improvement from the run defense came from the defensive tackles as much as it came from Rashawn Gary became an incredible edge run defender. A guy like Edgerrin Cooper was a TFL machine last year. Quay
Yeah,
Walker, at least in the second half of the season, played really well. But then you think about every guy that Halfley brought in last year in the secondary and in like the second line, so the linebackers, so linebackers and secondary players, every single one of those guys plays the run super hard and tackles really well. Xavier McKinney was an incredible run defender. Javon Bullard and Evan Williams, very sure tacklers. They were making plays, and especially when you're playing a cover three heavy scheme like Halfley does, that strong safety that comes up and fills the hook zone has to be able to defend the run like another linebacker. And Williams and Bullard did that, way better than Jonathan Owens or whoever the Packers had the last couple of years, or Darnell Savage. So I think there's huge upgrades at safety. Keyshawn Nixon getting more playing time helped a ton. And then now we get rid of Jair, we get rid of Eric Stokes, two horrible run defenders, and we bring in Nate Hobbs, who that's like one of the biggest draws to him as a player is he'll light people up in the run game.
yeah,
So I think the defensive tackles to me look like once again they're not going to be that great as a singular unit for run defense. And I think we're at a point where we got to rely on everything else around it to kind of make up for the deficiencies of the D tackle room.
yeah. I agree. Is this a good way to segue into my next one? Do you have anything else you want to say?
No, go for it.
Okay, I think this is a perfect segue
Okay.
because my next reason for optimism is the rangy, freaky, athletic linebacker group,
Okay.
and I love these linebackers, and I think PFF scores are a little bit misleading sometimes because this Packers defense was considered one of the better defenses in the league last year, at least top third, and if you look at all their individual PFF scores, they look terrible. The defensive line, other than Edgerrin Cooper, the linebackers looked really bad. Um, I mean, we had a few guys in the secondary like McKinney that graded pretty high, but still, a lot of these other guys like Nixon and Valentine didn't grade as good as you'd think. Um, but the linebackers are, I mean, let's just start with Edgerrin Cooper. Edgerrin Cooper,
It's a good place to
he,
start.
yeah, let's start with him. So, rookie last year, kind of annoying, but the Packers kind of had him on a pitch count for a while. Seemed like he was not playing near as many snaps as he deserved. But they're just being slow with him, working him into the system, making sure he wasn't trying to drink out of a fire hose,
Hmm.
taking slow. And I think it paid off in the end. The Packers and their organization have been really smart with how they use their rookies.
Hmm.
And another conversation we'll get into later is how I expect them to do that with Matthew Golden this year too. While it might be frustrating at times, I think it is what's best for them. Because by the end of the season, Edgerrin Cooper was widely regarded as one of the better linebackers in football. And I think
Hmm.
that's been clear this offseason, seeing rankings of the top linebackers. And I think PFF had him at like the ninth best or something. And so he's getting national attention for good
He has
reason, like you
so
said.
much potential.
Yeah, so much potential, and his biggest draw is his tackle for loss ability, his pass rushing ability as an outside linebacker. But coverage, he didn't grade as good, but I think he was better than Quay Walker and McDuffie in coverage. And so he's got that speed, athleticism. He's got the it factor, I think. And so I'm excited to see what Edrin Cooper can do. I think by the end of this year, he's going to be a 90 plus overall on Madden, which is what truly matters to me. Um, but he's going to be one of our best players, and it already is. But the thing is, Quay Walker's the signal caller. I mean, he's the guy that has had the trust of the coaches for the last few years. He also has that athleticism. He's got the same speed. He's got the same tendencies, I guess. He can get in the backfield really well. He's a rangy tackler. But he's just missing that mental aspect, I think. And that's what I'm hoping year two of Halfley, year two in his scheme. I'm sure Halfley's been working like crazy with Quay Walker to improve his intangibles. And that linebacker coach, whoever it is helping them out too. But I'm just really excited to see, after having a whole offseason with Halfley in this new scheme, what Quay Walker can do. I think he's the guy, even in year 4 or 5, whatever it is, I'm not going to consider him a bust quite yet. I think he's got a lot of potential still, and I think this is the year he puts it together next to Edrin Cooper. And then you got McDuffie, who Drew and Dad know that I've been really low on, just comically, I think. But he
Because
he's
he's an
got a
ugly
high.
SOB.
He just didn't seem like he has the body for a full time linebacker, but he
Well,
has
he
a high
doesn't.
enough floor. Yeah, yeah, but he has a high enough floor. I think we're talking about intangibles that Quay Walker doesn't really have. I think McDuffie has it, and so we've talked about if you could make a baby or like combine McDuffie and Quay Walker into one player, it would be a really really good football player.
Yeah.
Um, and so he's a guy that, I mean, if he's our third linebacker, I'm okay with. But the one I'm excited about is Isaiah Simmons. Um, Obviously, a guy that's been kind of a journeyman through the league, first round pick, never has become what he was supposed to. But I've been seeing all these tweets in training camp. Josh Jacobs calling him a unicorn. There was one play, I just saw the tweet, not a highlight, but apparently there was a check down pass to Josh Jacobs in the flat. Looked wide open. 2 seconds later, Isaiah Simmons is right in his face. And so I think there's going to be a lot of plays like that if he gets snaps, where we're going to see Isaiah Simmons, Quay Walker, Edrin Cooper just flying all over the field making plays. And even if they have some whiffs in coverage, I think it's going to be really fun.
Yeah. I think you're totally right. And it's crazy you said all that and you forgot to mention a dude who they drafted in the third round, Teron Hopper.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's wild. And I was really interested in after the season, you know how they do like those exit interviews where Gutekunst and Halfley and all the coaches will do like one last interview before they go to the off season.
Yeah.
One of the things that all of them talked about, where they were just really aligned and talking about how they wanted to get more linebackers and have more versatility and athleticism with their linebackers. And I was really surprised that that was something they wanted to talk about based on the fact they had just drafted two in the first 3 rounds of the draft.
Mm-hmm.
Um, McDuffie and Quay were already there. Um, I just found that interesting. And then when they picked up Simmons, that was the first thing I thought about is how they had said that in their, exit interviews, because that fits the messaging really well. A new rangy, athletic, versatile player. Um, but yeah, I'm with you. One of the things that I have said for a long time now is I'm not a fan of Quay. I've just struggled with him for a long time. And the reason is his mentals. Like he doesn't seem to know where he needs to be a lot of times. He reads the runs incorrectly, especially on like zone runs. He's so often in the wrong hole.
Mm-hmm.
And um I just wonder, like, he started to figure it out the second half of last season. So is that just because he was bad, bad, bad at the beginning of last season, and the
I agree.
defense kind of got better as he got better? Is it just like mentally he was a step slow and had to figure it out? Because I'm with you. I wouldn't be surprised if Koi has a big jump this season because he's got a full off season with his style of defense now, and and Halfley's the type of coordinator who's going to call attacking schemes who are going to put him in the right position. I once again am drinking the Koi Walker Kool-Aid, even though I've kind of been burned by it each of the last 3 years.
Yeah, I'm in the same spot.
Yeah, I really like that pick. Um, so once again, to kill the enthusiasm, um, I'll start. Actually, so this was something that I was prepared to talk about as a reason for pessimism. Me and Sam had kind of planned out what we were going to talk about for this podcast on Monday or Tuesday, and I had written all this out. It's about Elton Jenkins and his contract situation and how I thought his contract hold in was a huge reason for pessimism in my mind. But then the news came out that he's not holding out; it's all just injury related. So I wanted to talk about the Packers in their history. They never pay more than three offensive linemen at one time. If you even think about some of their best offensive lines, I think the best offensive line I've ever seen in my lifetime was the 2014 team. They
Yeah.
had Corey Linsley at center, TJ Lang and Josh Sitton at right guard and left guard, and then Bulaga and Bakhtiari at the tackles. They were paying Josh Sitton like a top five guard. They were paying TJ Lang like a top 10 guard, and they were paying Brian Bulaga like a top 10 tackle. Corey Linsley and Bakhtiari were on rookie contracts. They only were paying three big contracts, even with that amazing offensive line. And then as Linsley and Bakhtiari came up and they realized they wanted to retain those guys, they paid those two and then cut Lang and Sitton. So then they were paying Bulaga, Linsley, Bakhtiari, and they filled the guard spots with draft picks and cheap additions and that kind of thing. So in my mind, it must just be a principle in Green Bay that they're never going to pay more than three offensive linemen. So if you look at where they're at right now, they're paying Aaron Banks big money. They are now paying Zach Tom big money. This year they are paying Elton Jenkins big money as well. So that's three offensive linemen that they're paying big money. The problem becomes in 2026, Aaron Banks and Zach Tom are still under contract and they can't really get out of those contracts. So they're for sure going to be paying two big contracts. They also have Rasheed Walker and Sean Ryan becoming unrestricted free agents who they probably want to at least look into keeping. Elton Jenkins is also under contract for next season at a cap hit of $24.8 million in 2026. Now here's the kicker. The Packers can cut Elton Jenkins next season and they'll only take $4.8 million of dead cap.
Wow.
So so they can save exactly 20 million by cutting Elton Jenkins next season. So in my mind, the question was, would you rather have Elton, Banks, and Zach Tom as your three big offensive linemen, or would you rather have Banks, Tom, and the option of Rasheed Walker or Sean Ryan?
The latter.
Yeah, to me, that's what it was too. But the thing that I was really worried about is what I had heard is that Elton Jenkins was asking to increase his guarantees for next season so that the Packers wouldn't be able to easily cut him. And so, thinking how the Packers think, they're going to value the younger players. I was
Yeah.
really afraid the Packers were going to say, no, we're not going to give you more money in 26 because we need to be able to cut you so then we can have the option to keep Rasheed Walker or keep Sean Ryan. And I was really afraid that Elton Jenkins was going to say, well, then I'm not going to play this year. And in that case, I think there was a real chance that the Packers would have just cut him this season.
Man, that's a good point.
So Elton is incredibly important to the team this year. We did not want to have Jacob Monk starting at center or Sean Ryan having to cross train and start at center. So that's why I said earlier, I think this Elton Jenkins news that he's, not having a contract holdout is a huge deal for the team this year because we can have him this year, know that we're going to have to cut him and move on next season.
Yeah. Man, yeah, that's a whole other discussion who we're gonna want to re-sign on the offensive line, but
Yeah,
I'm glad they got that figured out.
yeah. I say they just cut him and draft a center in the third round next year and just hope it works out. But
Yeah.
so I guess I had three reasons for pessimism and a fourth that turned into a reason of relief that I'm feeling because it could have been
Yeah.
bad in my mind. But I'll let you take it back on a happy note.
Okay. All right. I guess I'll do one of my silly ones, and I'll save one of my bigger ones for in a bit.
Okay.
This one, I get it's silly because it's not quite as important about roster construction or anything like that, but I think it's a huge deal. A reason for optimism for this season: the Packers are not playing a game overseas.
Yeah.
No London, no Brazil. The fact that they don't have to play on that crappy turf, because, I mean, you can blame your injury on whatever you want, but Kenny Clark and Jordan Love both clearly got hurt in that game. And it's something that plagued them the whole rest of the season, two of our most important players. And so, it's just hard to watch that game, see people slipping. Like, I'm not even to mention the injuries on the field, just the jet lag and the fact you miss out on a couple of days of practice, things like that. And so, there's not a whole lot to say on the topic, but I'm just really relieved that the Packers aren't going to be playing overseas this year, and hope that keeps them more healthy and more fresh. And yeah,
Yeah, I totally agree. And I want to take the chance to say that I also hate the NFL is trying to do this more often.
yeah,
But
totally agree.
glad it doesn't apply to the Packers this year.
Yeah,
Um, so for my next one, um, I'm going to use a little bit of a Bill Simmonsism to make this point. So for those of you who don't know, Bill Simmons, NBA personality, one of the kind of original podcasters, really famous sports podcast. And on his show, he often talks about gambling. And he does a show before the NBA season every year when like the team win total over unders come out. And he talks about some of the teams that he thinks are going to go under their win total. Some of the teams are going to go over. And one thing I've always heard him say is when you're looking at a team trying to project regular season success, you look at their bench. You look at how deep the team is, how many guys are going to be able to step up when a star player misses a couple games and, grind out a couple wins that they only were able to win because of their depth and because of their bench. But when you get to the playoffs and you're, trying to win a playoff series or, games at the highest caliber of competition, you need blue chip star level players.
mm-hmm.
So my reason for pessimism is I kind of think that as far as Bill Simmons would say, the Packers right now are a team that's set up for regular season success, but maybe not so much for postseason success. Just because I think we have a really deep team full of good players, but how many blue chip, S tier star players do we have on the Packers? I don't think the number's that high. So I was thinking this morning, like if you were to compare across the NFL, which team has the best backup nickel corner? Which team has the best backup tight end? The best number 5 wide receiver? Number 7 offensive lineman? The best number 4 linebacker? The Packers are probably up there in all those categories compared to other teams in the league. But I guess I'll ask you, how many players do you think the Packers have that are top 5, top 3 at their positions?
I personally think Josh Jacobs is borderline top 5. McKinney is top 5 at safety. And Zach Tom, I think, is borderline top 5 tackle. Edgerrin Cooper, not quite yet, but I think at the end of the season he'll be a top 5 linebacker. So 4, but all those are borderline. A lot of teams have guys that are like the clear number 1 at the position. So, 4 sounds pretty good if you're saying it like that. But I actually saw, just real quick, a guy posting on Instagram. You can't really take this for fact because it's just a random influencer posting stuff. But he posted ranking every NFL team's top 3 players. And so, like, the team that had the best top 3 players was number one. And the Packers ranked in at 24. And they're clearly a solid playoff team that the media likes, not loves, but likes. That I think everyone agrees is a playoff team. But they had their top 3 players as Josh Jacobs, McKinney, and Zach Tom, and they were the 24th ranked team in that sense. And so, you're right. They are missing out on some blue chip talent that's going to help them in the playoffs.
Yeah. I think that's probably right about where I would put him 24th. That's a really interesting exercise that I think probably applies more to championship success than a lot of people would think.
Yeah.
Um, and I agree. I think the Packers have two blue chip players. If your definition of blue chip is top five of your position, and I think it's McKinney and Zach Tom. Um,
Mm.
which I mean, right tackle is an important position. Safety, not so much. Like if you're going to pick a spot to have your best player on your team, safety is probably not the first position that comes to mind. I think I think Tucker Kraft and Edgerrin Cooper have chances to be there someday, but everybody else on the team, like they would have to take a pretty major leap for me to think of them as ever having blue chip potential.
Yeah.
Um, and I'm with you on Josh Jacobs too. I think he's close. I wouldn't say he's top five. There's too many incredible running backs in the NFL right now, um, and a couple more that just entered through the draft. But
Yeah.
he's a really really good player. But yeah, I'm just thinking like, say you're in the playoffs and it's 3rd and 6 in a big playoff game. You're playing against the best teams in the NFC. Can Keyshawn Nixon on 3rd and 6 guard Justin Jefferson? Can LVN beat Jordan Mailata around the edge for a big sack on 3rd and 6? Could Tucker Kraft get open in man coverage against Fred Warner? Could Sean Ryan hold up on a bull rush from Jalen Carter? Or could Romeo Dobbs get open against Jalen Johnson on 3rd and 6?
No, but Darnell Savage would get a pick six off Dak.
Okay, well, so then the answer is to go back to Darnell Savage.
Yeah, that's a scary way to think of it, though.
I mean, because that's what it comes down to. There's always moments where that type of stuff have to happen, and
Yeah.
I don't know if the Packers have true difference makers at very many positions on the field right now.
Yeah, and you say that same thing. Let's think of another team. I don't know, just other players. Like if we had Trey Hendrickson and you asked me that question, could he get past Jordan Mailata? I would say, yeah, he would. He would
Hmm.
get that sack. And so there are situations where, I don't know, would Justin Jefferson win that slant route? Yeah, every time. So I think it
Yeah,
does make a huge difference.
it really does. And I don't think you can really fault Goody for it because I think Goody went about it with a idea of we've got these positions that we need players at. In the past couple years, it's like two good examples are wide receiver and safety. And the Packers just drafted a crap ton of players and signed even more players. Just threw a bunch of bodies at the position, and we're like, one of these guys is going to be a star. And instead of one of them becoming a star and the rest of them being busts, none of them were busts, but none of them were also stars. It's like they've just got this weird group of good to very good players, but there's no elite players in there, at least for now.
Yeah. Yeah, it's very true. One other note of optimism, just real quick on that same line that I was thinking about, is all these players are young. Are the Packers still the youngest roster in football? I'm pretty sure they are.
Probably, yeah.
I think because they were by a good margin last year, and getting rid of Jair Alexander and guys like that, I think they did get younger. Um, and so the team is really young, but they also have playoff experience. I mean, it's only 3 games in the last 2 years, but or four,
3.
three. Yeah, the Cowboys, the Niners, the Eagles, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so 3 games in the last 2 years, a playoff experience. And so for all these young guys to have that much experience already in just 2 seasons, or you think of like Christian Watson, Romeo Dobbs, all across the offense, Jaden Reed, Wicks, Josh Jacobs now has 2 years under his belt of playoff experience. Jordan Love, two full years as a starter, made the playoffs in both years. And so that's what gives me hope is all these young guys have already had exposure. They're already all in a spot where we can expect some big jumps this year. And so I do think just like this past season where we saw Tucker Kraft, Edgerrin Cooper, McKinney, guys like that jumped into the consideration of best at their position group, I think we're going to have a couple more of those this season. So I expect the Tucker Crafts and Jaden Reeds to have a improvement year, and Devontae Wyatt. And then I expect to see some guys come out of the woodworks too, like Carrington Valentine, dudes like that I'm really stoked about. So
we both
I like the position the Packers are in.
Yeah. Before we move on, I want to say that's the theme for the Packers this season to me is if they want to get from where they were last year and the year before to where they want to go as far as being a true Super Bowl team goes, it's not going to come from new additions. Like Aaron Banks and Nate Hobbs are going to be good players, hopefully, but they're not going to be the guys that put them over the top. It has to come from improvement from the guys they already have. And I think a perfect example we've already talked about is Devontae Wyatt. Like that guy's been good, but he hasn't lived up to what, people in Green Bay think he can be. And that's a really key position on the team. I mean, what if he has a huge jump and he becomes the blue chip type player that the Packers have been missing? A couple things like that happen with other guys on the roster. They're cooking with gas.
Yeah, for sure. All right. Well, I'll get to I guess I have one real reason, and one funny one. But I'll just get to this one a little quicker. I'm really excited about the Packers' run game getting even better this year. Jordan Love, I think he's going to improve. He's got more weapons like Golden. I think those young guys will take another step. Tucker Kraft's going to get the ball more. But I think they're still going to be pounding the run. That's the focus of this team. That's why they went out and they got Aaron Banks, a big, beefy 5-layer burrito guy, playing left guard. And then Elton Jenkins moving to center, I think, is an upgrade in many ways over Josh Myers. Just real quick while we're talking about Josh Myers.
Ways.
Yeah. Josh Myers last year, I have it pulled up. Out of all centers, 64 centers to take snaps, he ranked 54th in run blocking. Pretty freaking bad.
Yeah.
He was only 27th in pass blocking, so bottom 5 of centers who started. But you replace that with Elton Jenkins, who honestly wasn't great against the run either. It was actually pretty bad, 71st out of guards. But he was a great pass blocker. He was 3rd in pass blocking. We're going to keep going. Let's look at Aaron Banks. Run blocking grade. Still not great, 39th, but much better than his pass blocking. And I think he's a guy that's going to benefit from a new scheme. I think he's going to be a great fit into this team, and that's why the Packers paid him so much, because they like the fit and the player. But I'm excited about that. And then not to mention Belton, too, who they drafted. I think people are kind of sleeping on Belton because because they have Jordan Morgan, who looks like the 6th man of this rotation for the O-line. But Belton's a second-round pick, and the Packers have had a lot of success in the second round with offensive line. And so he's a guy that if there's one injury, I think he slides right in the starting lineup and becomes a great player, who's another beefy 5-layer burrito that can be just like Banks and fill in for him.
Mm-hmm.
Sean Ryan last year saw a big jump. I know you're a fan of him. He was 87th in run blocking grade. Not good. This one surprised me. This one surprised me, but Zach Tom, I always thought of him more of a pass blocker. He was 12th in the league in pass blocking grade. He was 3rd in run blocking grade with a score of 90.0. So he's that bookend that's really important for us. Josh Jacobs is going to trust running behind Zach Tom. But now to have another mauler in there with Aaron Banks, another year with Rasheed Walker and Sean Ryan, Elton Jenkins at center. That offensive line looks really good, especially with Morgan and Belton coming off the bench. And then I also wanted to touch on Marshawn Lloyd real quick in this running attack. I think Emmanuel Wilson was great. He actually rated as the 8th best running back last year. So that's why I think it's crazy. PFF sometimes isn't perfect because he had limited snaps, but he was really good in his role.
Uh-huh.
So I hope he makes the team. I saw a recent 53-man roster prediction from Rob Domofsky, and he had Chris Brooks making the team and Wilson getting cut. And we can get into that later. I don't think that's going to happen. Wilson's too good. They got to keep him. But I think Marshawn Lloyd by week 6 is going to be the backup running back, taking those snaps because that dude runs like a crazy man.
He
Uh,
was already taking snaps with the ones in practice today, Marshawn Lloyd.
oh, sweet. Yeah, so maybe even sooner than I think. But um, yeah, he's a guy that just got plagued by injuries so bad last year. So basically, we have a rookie running back that already got his injury nightmares out of the way, hopefully, that can come in and be a real contributor. So new pieces on the offensive line, another new running back. I think running back is the deepest position on the team. This is going to be a really fun running attack in year 2 with Josh Jacobs, and maybe he gets a few less carries this year to, you know, put some miles onto some other guys. So I'm excited about that.
Yeah. I am two guys that you mentioned during that that I think could be potential future guys I'm going to buy a jersey of are Anthony Belton. If Belton, if anyone on the offensive line gets hurt and Belton takes their spot, you're not getting your spot back.
Yeah,
Especially if it's Sean Ryan at right guard. If
yeah,
Belton even touches the field at right guard, I'm sorry, Sean Ryan, but you better go get your money somewhere else next year. I
yeah,
want him playing guard so bad. I cannot wait to watch preseason Anthony Belton. I'm so excited for it.
yeah. It's gonna
Um,
be fun.
and then the second one is Marshawn Lloyd. If anyone can hear my voice right now, try and trade for Marshawn Lloyd in Dynasty Fantasy Football because that guy. I mean, last year when I was watching the draft class after the drafts, I could not stop myself from watching as much Evan Williams and as much Marshawn Lloyd as I possibly could.
Mm.
I have been obsessed with Marshawn Lloyd from the first second I ever saw him play at USC. If he can not fumble a million times next year, I think there's a world where 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 Josh Jacobs gets less touches next year, not because they want to keep him fresh, but because Marshawn Lloyd is actually that good that he kind of takes a few snaps from Josh Jacobs.
I like that. That'd be awesome. Man, such a change from the old Packers days, having 3 solid running backs.
Yeah, four. I hope all four make the team.
Yeah, I can see it.
But yeah, it's a big change talking about Marshawn Lloyd and Emmanuel Wilson as the backups instead of DeJuan Harris and those type of
Yeah.
guys. Uh,
Not to mention who the starter was ahead of them.
yeah, I mean, who was it? 32-year-old Cedric Benson or something like that, probably.
Yeah, Brandon Jackson.
Yeah. Okay, so my next thing I'm worried about is just the mix of personalities and players in the wide receiver room. And I think that we have taken it for granted and we can't. So the last couple years, a lot of these same guys have been together and they've always been very team first, like saying, I don't care about touches, I just care about helping the team, helping do whatever I need to help the team win. And that's great. But I think that only lasts for a certain amount of time because you got to realize these guys, Christian Watson, Romeo Dobbs, like all these players have for their entire lives since they were probably 6 years old, put in late nights in the gym, studying film all through high school, going to practice after school and then doing workouts after practice. They have put so much time into their lives as football players, trying to perfect their craft and be good enough to make it to the NFL. Also, all of them played in college and were successful in college really before the era of NIL. So it's not like they made money in college either. And none of them were really high draft picks. So yes, they've made really good money on their rookie contracts, but it's not life-changing money. They couldn't retire now if they wanted to and just be done. But for players like these, the way that they pay off all of their late nights, all of the practices they went to, the early morning workouts they had to do their entire lives to get to where they are right now is their second contract. That second
Mm-hmm.
contract is the NFL is in the NFL is where you make, generational life-changing money that affects you and your children and your grandchildren. And these guys are all getting to contract years or their third seasons where they're starting to think about that. And we've already seen that kind of start to come up. And I just think we can't expect the same team first attitude to continue as these guys are getting closer to, negotiating these big paydays because wide receiver is it's a counting stats position. The team is not going to pay Romeo Dobbs $15 million just because he looked good in the few snaps he got. If he only gets 450 receiving yards next year, he's not going to get paid up to his talent.
Yeah.
And I guarantee that these guys are seeing some of the money that a player like Tutu Atwell just made 10 million bucks this season. And so these guys, they want to do everything they can and get every single target and catch and yard and touchdown that they can so that they can make as much money as they can in their next contract
Yeah.
because this is their one big shot. And so I just think like we've already seen some stories leak out from Jaden Reed's agent. Romeo Dobbs, even just a couple days ago, was posting some kind of cryptic memes on his Instagram that had me a little worried. Christian Watson's dad is nuts. We already know that. Um, but it's just Reed, Wicks, Dobbs, Watson, and Malik Heath is another sneaky one where all these guys are going to be really thinking about themselves more, I think, than they have in the past. And what happens if Matthew Golden is just better? What if he's just kind of quickly the best player on the team and commanding the most amount of targets on the team? That squeezes a ton of other snaps out that would normally go to those other players. And then as Watson recovers from the ACL and he's going to come back, he's another guy that they love. So if Golden is really good, maybe even Savion does a thing or two, and then Watson is coming back, that's going to put a huge squeeze on the rest of these guys. Like I would not be surprised if there's some fissures breaking in this group and some guys requesting trades and causing problems more than we've seen in the past.
That's a really good point. It's something when you sit back and look at a roster you don't think of very often. But I agree that could be a big problem, especially since Dobbs got suspended last year for attitude reasons before they even brought in 2, 3 other guys.
Mm-hmm.
Don't even forget about McCole Hardman too. I think he's going to be putting pressure on the Malik Heaths of this team and going to come in and steal a spot too. So I don't know. Could be a lot of change.
Yeah, I would not be surprised if there's a midseason or even preseason trade.
Yeah. Dang. All right. My last really quick reason for optimism: the Packers actually have a kicker going into this season. We don't have to worry about losing games at the beginning of the season, trying to figure out their kicker. But I saw one
Yeah.
tweet on the first day of training camp, and it was Andy Herman just saying, "Oh, made it from 45 from the left hash. Oh, made it from 50 from center. Oh, 35 from the front right. Made it." Just nailing all his kicks, and so I trust McManus so much more than anyone since prime Mason Crosby. So
Yeah.
that gives me some relief.
Remember the last 3 seasons when all the beat reporters used to like tally up how many kicks and like what the make percentage of all the kickers had been throughout the entire training camp?
Yep.
That was I
So
remember
sad.
the last 2 seasons, Anders Carlson was probably the player I watched the most closely at family night on TV.
Him versus Greg Joseph.
Oh, that's so bad. It's so much better now. Oh,
Yeah. Yeah, we're in good hands.
yeah,
And
we are.
punter Whelan is crazy.
Yeah, I like him. Well, um, anything else you want to share about the Packers before we move on to around the NFL stuff?
No, I think we covered it.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it was good to get some Packers talk off the chest. Once again, we'll definitely be, bringing at least a couple times a month Packers content going forward as we, get into the preseason and into the season for sure. But I got a couple questions I want to run by you and we can chat about from around the NFL, kind of non-Packers stuff. I want to start by asking you if we look at the AFC um, just as a conference over the next few years, if you had to pick a non-Kansas City Chiefs team, to win a Super Bowl. And feel free to get as spicy with this as you want to. Which team would you pick if you're going non-Chiefs?
If I'm going non-Chiefs for this year, I'm picking the Ravens. I
Okay.
don't think that's spicy at all. The defense is loaded, especially now with Jair Alexander added to that secondary. Um, I'm looking at these other teams here, and a lot of them don't call out to me. A lot of them are kind of depressing. The Broncos I like, but I don't see a huge jump from them. I think a team to keep an eye on over the next 3 years, this is thinking out more in advance, is the Titans.
Ooh. Oh, okay. Tell me why.
I Only one reason. I've been up and down, started to watch a lot more films so I could get a real valid opinion, but I really like Cam Ward. And I think he just has that dog mentality, a guy that is all about football. We talked about this on a previous pod, him, John at Shadura Sanders for being a fake football player.
Yeah.
So, I mean, he's just got the mentality that I love to see in a football player. And I don't know, they're just starting from the very bottom, so I think it's going to be a fun team to follow. It helps that Will Levis just got announced he's out for season, so
Oh,
they don't
what?
have to. Yeah, I think it was yesterday they announced that he got shoulder surgery or something, so he's out for season.
Oh my goodness, I didn't even know that.
Yeah, so that helps them that they don't even have to think about Will Levis playing a game.
Wow.
But yeah, it sucks for him. But I just really like Cam Ward. But I think if I were to pick a team this year, even if the Chiefs are included, I'm picking the Ravens.
Yeah, I don't think you can go wrong with that. I kind of went spicy with my choice. And I want to say my choice isn't necessarily a team for this season, but if I'm looking for, once again, like the next couple years, I'm a huge fan of the future of the LA Chargers.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so first, I don't think we talk enough about how much better they were than their expectations were, than they were expected to be last season. I think Harbaugh and their defensive coordinator, they took a huge jump as a team. I'm a huge fan of Herbert, one of my favorite quarterbacks in the NFL. One of the guys that I would just, with a bullet, I'd take him over Jordan Love, straight up. Um, but I don't think we talk enough about how when Harbaugh came in and this new regime started, they had like four good players on the team, and that's it. They had Justin Herbert, they had Rashawn Slater, they had Derwin James, and then I'm going to count the combo of Joey Bosa and Khalil Mack as one because neither of them ever played more than half their games. So that's all they had. They don't have Bosa anymore. They still have the other four guys. But listen to like this list of guys that they have brought in over the last two seasons. Joe Alt, Lad McConkey, Junior Colson, who's a guy I really like that didn't get to play much last year because of injury. Deion Henley, stud linebacker. Cam Hart, second year corner, I was a huge fan of. Omarion Hampton, I think, was an incredible draft pick. Over
Yep.
3,000 rushing yards in the last two seasons. Trey Harris is a dude I would have loved to have on the Packers. Um, and the combo of Lad McConkey and Trey Harris together is really exciting to me. Uh, Lad McConkey's another one. I can't remember if I said him yet. But Jamari Caldwell, I would have been okay if the Packers drafted Jamari Caldwell in the first round.
Ooh.
And I know there's texts I've sent to you and Dad. I have probably five separate screenshots of mock drafts I did pretending I was the Packers where I drafted Jamari Caldwell in the second or third round. The Chargers got Jamari Caldwell in the third round, one pick before the Packers were up.
Oh.
I almost cried when they took Jamari Caldwell, and then we got stuck with Savion Williams right after that. And then they also have Kyle Kennard in the fourth round, another guy I really liked. They signed Mekhi Becton to come in and play guard for them this season. I just feel like the Chargers have done everything a Harbaugh team would do. They came in, they had about four good players. They've brought in probably 10 guys I'm really excited about since then. And then get this. The Chargers are number one in cap space in the NFL next year. If they roll over
Whoa.
what they have left this season, the Chargers have $144 million in cap space.
That's wild.
Yeah. And the only one of their Slater's still under contract. Derwin is still under contract. Herbert is too. Khalil Mack's on a 1 year deal, and a lot of people think he's going to retire. So they'll lose Khalil Mack, but then they'll have $144 million left, and they don't really have any good players they need to re-sign quite yet. So they can spend that on outside free agents and just get whoever the hell they want to.
Man, I like it. That's a good pick.
Thanks. So kind of afraid we're going to have the same answer on this one, but if you're talking the teams in the NFL that have a new first year head coach, which of those teams do you see making a big jump, having a successful season this year?
So you're probably thinking of the Bears. I'm going to defer to you and let you talk about the Bears. The one I want to talk about is the Raiders.
Oh, okay. So
I think this. Go ahead.
I don't even want to say it. It feels nasty coming off my tongue, but I think the Bears are going to be really good. I think they're loaded at all the skill positions. Their offensive line personnel is way better. Their defense is still young, and they have good pieces at the right spots. I hate to say it, but the Bears won the offseason again, and I think it's going to translate to regular season success this time.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm in the same spot. I'm scared of the Bears this year. But I decided not to talk about them. Wanted to pick the Raiders.
Thank you.
Bringing in Pete Carroll. They go get one of the best, I think, the best draft prospect of all time, Ashton Genty.
And we're not biased at all, are we?
Nope, not one bit. But to fill the Marshawn Lynch role for Pete Carroll, I think he's going to get a ton of carries. But then they get Geno Smith, too, Pete's former quarterback. And I think Geno Smith is one of the most underrated guys in the league. A guy that's going to come in and really translate that team and be able to maximize Brock Bowers. So I think that's a really fun team that we could see kind of in that 9-8 tier this year that might be able to sneak into the 7 seed. So I think they're a team to watch.
Yeah. Did you hear the Geno Smith quote about wanting to win as a Raider?
Mm-mm.
Someone asked him about whether or not he thinks the Raiders can be over 500 this year or something like that. And I saw the video of he like looks at the reporter and is like, I didn't come to Vegas to roll the dice. I came to Vegas to run the table. We're going to win it all. That's the most badass quote I've heard in a long time. And that stuff matters way more to me than it probably should. But just based off that quote alone and the fact that Pete Carroll is just such a cool guy, and I'm sure he'll be so fun to play for. And I could see the Raiders being a lot better as well.
For sure.
Okay, well, I guess I don't know how you feel about this next team, but to me it's kind of a little bit going from some exciting teams to a little bit of a depressing team. And, as a Wisconsin-based podcast, it's probably about time we brought this guy and this team up. So I want to know, like, just 1,000-foot view, what are your thoughts on the Pittsburgh Steelers this year?
I think the Steelers are going to do what they always do. They're going to sneak by with a winning record, go 9-8, keep Tomlin in his coaching position. Aaron Rodgers is going to retire, and it's going to hurt his legacy again. And it makes me sad because I love Rodgers.
Yeah.
One of my favorite athletes ever. It's sad what's happened to him recently. Last year, he was better than people gave him credit for, I think. And I think the same thing is going to happen this year where his stats are going to be good. He's going to have some good moments, but I think he's past his prime. I'm not seeing a huge MVP-like resurgence where he's going to lead this team further than everyone expects. But they made an interesting trade a little bit ago. They brought in DK. I mean, in a tough, really, really tough AFC, I think this team just continues to stay where they're at, especially with that division being so scary, playing the Bengals and the Ravens twice a year. I don't think you can get a lot better than maybe 10-7 with that roster.
Yeah. Yeah, it's just, I don't feel like as far as the offense goes, it's tough to really think about it. You don't need to think about it much more than just looking at their depth chart and seeing that currently Calvin Austin and Robert Woods are both listed as starting wide receivers on the team.
Oh,
Yeah. And
it's just like the Jets.
it's like the Jets, but even worse because I don't think Jalen Warren is anything close to what Brees Hall is. And then I think Garrett Wilson is a legit, really good talent. And I think DK Metcalf, has the decline already started for him?
Yeah,
I'm worried
I
that
would say
he's
so.
already reached his peak. And they just paid the piss out of him. I
Yeah,
just, I will say though, I think their O line, I'll always be a Broderick Jones believer. Zach Frazier is a really good player at center. I think their O line is better than maybe what Rodgers had last year in New York. The front seven on defense is absolutely sick for the Steelers. It's just crazy. Guys all over the place I just absolutely love. Cam
yeah.
Hayward, Keanu Benton. Um, oh, I just forgot his name. What's that D tackle they just drafted in the first round out of Oregon? Derek
Oh, Derek
Harmon.
Harmon.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And then you throw TJ Watt, Alex Highsmith, all those guys out there, Patrick Queen. Yeah. They,
if only Ryan Shazier was still there.
yeah, sad story. But I just feel like my main thought of the Steelers is they're kind of like the opposite of the Packers right now, where they're betting on a small collection of blue chip talent instead of the Packers betting on a large collection of good talent. But
Yeah,
then the problem is a lot of these blue chip players the Steelers have are just old and over the hill, like Rodgers and Cam Hayward, T.J. Watt, maybe even a little bit, D.K. Metcalf, Jalen Ramsey, like all these guys, their best football's behind them. I think.
should have kept Minka.
Yeah, I don't really think he was that great anymore either, but it's hard to say. Okay, so moving on, I got two more things I want to pick your brain on. Which of last year's playoff teams are you betting against this year to make it to the playoffs again?
The Texans. I
Really?
think
Okay.
the Texans and the Vikings, I think, are my easy answers. I almost picked Detroit, but that felt a little too crazy. But I think the Texans made the dumbest move of the offseason, even though they got a decent return in terms of picks, trading Laramie Tunsil just because he wasn't a good locker room fit. Um, one of the worst offensive lines in football that totally destroyed CJ Stroud's sophomore season, and they trade away their one of the best tackles in football, I think. And so, pretty surprising move. I think that alone is going to hurt them a lot. They have injuries to their receivers once again. Another year on Joe Mixon's career, even though he had a great season last year. So, yeah, and CJ Stroud, I'm still a semi believer in him, but I would be a big believer in him if they actually got an offensive line around him. But
Yeah.
banking on a bunch of young dudes to try to protect him, I think, is pretty ballsy. And so, I mean, they weren't one of the higher seeded playoff teams last year, but if I was to make a really spicy pick, I would have the Lions falling.
Okay. There's always someone that surprises, and I actually had the Texans on my list as well. Um, I feel like the only other thing that I thought of that you didn't mention was it feels weird to me how much the Texans have invested in wide receiver lately. Um, they had Nico Collins, who I think is one of the best in the game. Tank Dell's really exciting. I know he's hurt. Just last year, they sent away draft capital to get 1 year of Stephon Diggs. Then they came back and they still had John Mechie on the roster, who was a high picked player. And then this year, Jaden Higgins was like the guy I wanted for the Packers really badly. So I'm not going to hate on them for the pick, but they drafted Jaden Higgins and I just spaced his name, his teammate from Iowa State. Um, they
Noel.
drafted, yeah, Jalen Noel. They drafted him too. So now they have um, Nico, Dell, Mechie, both the Iowa State guys. They had Diggs last year. I just feel like they've put so much into wide receiver when they could have used at least some of that on the offensive
Yeah.
line or different spots on the defense too. So that feels weird to me.
Yeah.
But if I had to pick another team, now that I'm on the spot and you took the Texans, I think I'd go with Washington. Um,
Yeah, I thought about that too.
I just feel like enough of the transactions they've made lately have not been really inspiring. Like I hated giving up capital for old fat Debo Samuel.
Yeah.
Um, I did not like letting go of De'Ami Brown. Javon Kinlaw contract was really weird to me, and there's just a couple things that they've done, like Von Miller. I guess cool. He'll probably won't play very much, but
Yeah.
it's just a weird team. I feel like they're very old with guys like Eckler and Bobby Wagner and some other guys who are they're just I could see them falling down a little bit.
Yeah, it just feels like they maximized their roster somehow last year. Like when they acquired Eckler, I was like, no way does that guy play. And then he's actually pretty good, but it just doesn't feel repeatable.
Hmm. Yeah, there's a lot about it that does. Even though I love Daniels, another
Yeah.
guy, Zach Ertz. Like they got a lot out of Ertz last
Yeah,
year.
yeah, yeah.
I would have thought Ertz was done 3 years ago, you know?
Me too.
So,
Yep, very true.
and also Terry McLaurin's holding out. So if they can't get that figured out, they're in real trouble.
Yeah.
Um, so last question before we get out of here. Really enjoyed this episode. But I wanna hear one other team you're intrigued by this year in the NFL and kind of your reason for why.
Yeah. I'm really intrigued by the New England Patriots.
Oh, okay.
I thought it would be kind of a fun random one, but they bring Mike Vrabel back as head coach, former player. I think he's a real old school mindset type guy that come in, do your work. Kind of a hard nosed dude, and so I think that's going to be a really good coach for them. I really like some of their core pieces like Christian Gonzalez. I'm really high on Drake May and Will Campbell. Those two guys, I think Will Campbell is going to be a great tackle for them. May, I think, is going to make another big jump in his second year. They drafted Travion Henderson, who's a back I really like. That's going to go in there and quickly become better than Ramondre, I think.
It's not that
And
hard, but
then,
yeah.
yeah, seriously. They brought in Morgan Moses, too, who still has some juice left in the tank, and Garrett Bradbury. And then they signed Stephon Diggs. And so Diggs isn't guy. He's not a guy I have a lot of hope in anymore, but he's going to be their best receiver. They don't have any good receivers, but I think I just have a lot of faith in Drake May and Vrabel and the core pieces like Will Campbell and Christian Gonzalez. I think they're going to be a fun team to watch over the next few seasons.
Yeah, that's a great pick. I'm invested in Drake May in Dynasty. He's like the only good quarterback I have, so I hope you're correct and that he does have a good career. Um, I'm just a little worried about their wide receiver room. If I were them, I'd be the team that tries and trades for Romeo Dobbs in week 6 or something like that.
For sure, yeah.
Um, so I made what I think is kind of a weird choice for my team I'm intrigued by. Um, and it's the Indianapolis Colts. I just I don't know what they're gonna do if Anthony Richardson doesn't pan out. Because when you really look at their roster, have invested so much at every other position. Like they have guys that they've put a lot of either draft capital or a lot of money into. But you look at their wide receivers, they have Pittman as their top guy, but then they back him up with two of my favorite draft crushes of the last couple of years, A.D. Mitchell and Josh Downs. You have Tyler Warren at tight end, who was a first round pick. You have Jonathan Taylor at running back. Their offensive line could use a little bit of tender love and care, but they've got some guys there. On the defensive line, like you throw Laiatu Latu, another guy I loved in the draft. DeForest Buckner's a dude they traded for and paid big money to. There's linebackers. I mean, in the secondary, they paid big money to Cam Bynum and Charvarius Ward this year. Throw them out there with Kenny Moore and some other guys. Like they have playmakers at every level of the defense and every level of the offense. Problem is, they are absolute poo at quarterback. They're poo, and
Couldn't be worse.
I just don't know what they're gonna do.
It's Jameis season, baby. Oh, wait, no, he's on the Giants.
Yeah,
Is
it's
Daniel Jones? No.
yeah, it is. Yeah, it's
Wow.
Anthony Richardson and Daniel Jones, which is just absolute hot piss. It's so bad.
Yeah, that's real bad.
And so I don't know, like if they, with the roster they have right now, if they have another, 5-12 losing season because Richardson just sucks, Richardson's not going to get another chance. It's do or die for him right now. I also think it's do or die for their coach and probably their GM too, even though I think he's built a good, talented roster. So I was thinking about this. Come with me for a second. Say that the stars line up, the Texas Longhorns have a good season, Anthony Richardson is poopy, the Colts have a bad season, they're positioned at the top of the draft, they get a new coach, a new GM, and they draft Arch Manning. And you throw another Manning onto the Colts with a roster that's already ready to go and compete right now. That's pretty exciting.
That would be the most watched team in football.
Yeah, the
That would be
football
really fun.
gods are hoping that happens, aren't they?
It's like Wemby going to the Spurs.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that would be fun.
Yeah, I think so too. So, I mean, that's just my team I'm intrigued by. I could see them being kind of good, but I just have no hope in Anthony Richardson and or Daniel Jones. And if things don't start off well, and I were them, I would just throw in whichever quarterback is worse. So I try and lose as many games as I can and position myself for another quarterback because that's all it is.
Yeah,
They're a quarterback away. If they
yeah,
had Cam Ward, or if they had, I guess there was really only one good quarterback this year, but if they were the team that had Cam Ward in the NFC South, I would be saying they're going to win the division and make the playoffs.
yeah,
But I don't have faith in either of those quarterbacks, so I'm not saying that about them right now.
yeah. No, that's intriguing for sure. That's a talented roster. If only they had Shador Sanders.
Yeah. Did you see the video of the Browns' new helmet reveal when the guy fell in the water as he was trying to
Yeah,
videotape it?
that's so funny.
The Browns might be really, really bad this year, man.
Yeah, Tyler. Oh, I keep mixing teams. They have Shador, Dylan Gabriel.
Your
Who's
boy Kenny
Kenny
Pickett,
Pickett? Yeah,
Joe Flacco.
and still
Uh,
Deshaun Watson.
yeah, they've got five quarterbacks that just suck.
Oh
Um,
yeah.
yeah, so I mean that's all I wanted to go over today. Anything else you want to talk about?
No, I think that was a fun one. We dressed
Yeah.
quite a bit, so it's going to be fun to do our roster prediction here pretty soon and keep giving some updates on training camp.
Yeah, it was a good time tonight. Thanks for tuning in, Kipsters and Chipsters. Let us know if there's any other topics you want us to cover. Are we gonna hit some NBA stuff again next time we're on?
I think we need to.
Okay. Well, just a little programming update. We will both be out of state this time next week, so we will possibly try to get another episode to you early next week before we head out. But there's a definite chance where we won't have any on-air programming to send your way next week, and we may have to, get back to you the first week of August. And by then, it might be time to think about doing some preseason film review, which is really exciting. But
Yeah, it's going to be fun.
yeah, so we'll get another episode to you as soon as we can. But as always, thanks for listening. Plan on subscribing and liking, and we appreciate all your support. Good to talk to you tonight, Sam, and we'll see you next time.
All right, peace out.